Imagine that you are 2, 3, 4, or even 5 years old when your parents decide to leave everything behind and travel miles and miles away from their home country in search of better opportunities for a better life in a totally new, different country. At this age, you are way too young to know what's going on, to understand, or to be given any explanations of why the move, because you're only 2 years old or younger, why the move, or if it's even being done with legal procedures in place. And then now imagine that you are a little older, 13, 14, or 15, and you are capable of understanding immigration and how it works. When your parents finally break it to you that you are actually illegal in the country that you have always known as your own. This is a situation of millions of children, teens, and young adults in the US. According to a publication by the Department of Homeland Security on their website, dhs.gov, the estimated number of undocumented immigrants is around 12 million as of January 2015. It is estimated that about 800,000 youth have taken protection from DACA from deportation under DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. I come from a family of immigrants. My dad migrated legally from Mexico to the US because my grandfather was a US citizen who was actually living in Mexico, but my mom did come here illegally about 43 years ago. Back then, immigration laws weren't so bad, hard, and punishable when you tried to legalize your status. Now they are. I interviewed my mom, Eloisa, to ask her about her experience. She explained to me that back then it was an easy process to legalize your status if you were married to a US citizen or a US resident. Some cases were as little as 6 months. She clarified to me that her wait was under 1 year to gain her legal residency. Nowadays, that is unheard of. Now, even if you are married to a US citizen or a US resident, there are many other obstacles you have to overcome, halting the process for many years for some. She also told me that years ago, being caught coming into the country illegally wasn't such a harassment or punishable as it is now. Immigration is a topic that touches close to home with me. I have family members who are undocumented, but they are hardworking, law-abiding residents who have literally lived in the country for 15 to 20 years, some for even more, with hopes of no legalization because of minor hiccups with their situation or because there hasn't been an immigration reform to help people in these situations since 1986, which is why I advocate for an immigration reform, bringing back DACA and expanding protection to parents of those protected youth as well. Immigration is such a complex topic with many areas. I will briefly touch on the most recently known to people, which is DACA, sometimes referred to as Dreamers, and why an immigration reform is needed. DACA, as I mentioned, stands for Deferred Action of Childhood Arrivals. This was first enacted in 2012 under the Obama administration. DACA protects certain people from deportation, those who were brought to the country as children before the age of 16. There are several requirements to meet in order to qualify, such as you have to have been under the age of 31 as of June 15, 2012, and had to have been currently in school or had graduated from high school. There are several other requirements fully listed on the government agency website of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, www.uscis.gov. In 2017, President Trump put an end to new submissions for DACA, leaving out thousands that could potentially benefit from this protection. The administration tried shutting it down completely, but a judge ruled in its favor and kept it open for renewals only. I personally don't think children should be punished for something their parents did years ago and seek of a better life for them, especially if this is the country is the only country they know. Some don't even speak Spanish or their native language, their parents' native language, and are hit with this harsh reality of their legal status. DACA is something that activists are still fighting for. This was huge for some because it allowed them to attend school and have a work permit without any obstacles. Can you imagine now being 18 years old, you have graduated or recently graduated from high school, you want to move on to college, you want to start working, but you're being held back because of your legal situation. You're just tied up. something you had nothing to do with because you were too young to know when you moved here or why you moved here or how. This is why I urge you to call your congressman in favor of DACA if it comes back to the table. You can easily find your local congressman or House representative online. Along with DACA, Obama also proposed DAPA, Deferred Action for Parents of Americans and Lawful Permanent Residents. This program was quickly rejected and blocked by federal court in 2015. Had it been implemented based on the article Trump Rolls Back DAPA, published by The Atlantic, there was an estimated 3.7 million undocumented immigrants that would have been eligible. This was a vital piece to grant peace of mind and life to those living in the shadows. It would have granted deportation protection and work permit to those undocumented immigrants who are parents to U.S. citizens who have been living continuously in the U.S. since 2010 and had no criminal record and don't possess a threat to national security. This would have greatly benefited around 4 million parents from deportation and allowed them to contribute into our economy by granting work permits. DAPA would have granted my cousin Teresa, whom I interviewed with a couple questions, protection from deportation. She met the requirements, has been living in the US for 20 years, has a 9-year-old son who is a US citizen because he was born here. She has no criminal record whatsoever, not even minor traffic offenses or violations, yet she works and contributes to the economy by paying taxes. She tells me she has gotten used to the life of living in fear and in the shadows and not being able to enjoy certain things or travel. It's a sad reality of millions just like her. Now, moving on to why our country needs a comprehensive immigration reform. The last time there was a significant change to our immigration laws was in 1986 by President Ronald Reagan. He signed the 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act, which allowed millions who were illegally living in the country to become legal residents and eventually citizens. Yet, it also made it illegal for employers to knowingly hire and recruit people without legal work permits, which I doubt that will ever happen. So, in 33 years, there hasn't been any real relief or change in law to help those who have been in this country illegally. That's a lot of years, a lifetime for many. I get it, and I'm not necessarily in favor of illegal immigration, but I know we all come from different walks in life, and I am in favor of a second chance for those already here. I believe we all at some point break the law somehow, whether petty or not. Laws are broken all the time by Americans and undocumented. I mean, I remember getting a fake ID when I was not even 18 yet because I wanted to have that older age so we can get into clubs, my friends and I. I'm sure I'm not the only one that did that. But in reality, the life of an undocumented is far from the truth portrayed in the media. They are not here to steal our jobs. They're not here to steal our teaching jobs, our accounting jobs, our real estate jobs, our professional service jobs. In reality, we all know majority are here doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. They are here doing cleaning services, fast food jobs, restaurant busing jobs, agriculture jobs, landscaping, and other low-paying jobs that are not necessarily appealing to the average American, and they won't do them. And contrary to what the media will say, millions do pay taxes. They don't all work under the table. And trust me, a lot of Americans work under the table as well. An article published by The Atlantic titled The Truth About Undocumented Immigrant and Taxes states that, in fact, illegal immigration is in part responsible for the increasing of the earnings suspense file, with undocumented workers actually paying billions in taxes for retirement benefits they will most likely never get. The earnings suspense file is where Social Security money reported by employers on W-2s goes into if they are not matched with authentic Social Security numbers. This happens when undocumented immigrants work with fake or made up Social Security numbers. Yes, illegal immigrants work with fake Social Security numbers, but their paychecks still get, taxed just like yours and I does. Difference is they cannot claim Social Security benefits because of their illegal status. So in the meantime, the government is helping themselves with all this surplus of money in there and the Social Security solvency with the millions, even billions of dollars in the suspense file. Or many work with ITIN number, an individual tax ID number, even though it's not a social. This I-10 is issued by the IRS for those without a social who are not able to obtain a social so they can report their taxes. Many Americans don't know this exists. The government knows there are millions here working unauthorized and, of course, wants them paying taxes, wants their money, which they should. So IRS issues these I-10 numbers. There are actually some banks out there that do loans, home loans with I-10s, but you don't hear this on the media. And even though they may file their taxes with an I-10, they are exempt from earned income tax credits. So they don't necessarily get a refund if any is due, or they get less than they should because of the I-10. I know plenty of people who report their taxes with an I-10. The undocumented community is constantly advised by immigration lawyers and activists to do their taxes yearly because this will count in their favor if there ever happens to be another immigration reform. To learn more about an I-10, you can visit the irs.gov website where I got all my information from. In conclusion, like I said, immigration is a complex topic and varies widely. It is not as easy for certain countries' citizens to come here legally as other countries' citizens. So the requirements and waiting lines are all different depending on your country. You see a lot on social media that, hey, wait your chance in line. You can't have special privilege because you didn't wait your chance in line. But not everybody has a line, or not every country has a short line. So like I said, everybody's walks of life is different. The estimated 12 million documented immigrants are not all Hispanic or Mexican as the media portrays it. As listed on the DHS.gov website, they published a file called Population Estimates, Illegal Alien Population Residing in the U.S. January 2015. You can see the figures. Yes, about half of them are from our neighboring country, which the U.S. has tight restrictions on how Mexicans or South Americans can come here legally. But the other half is made up of countries such as European countries, the Philippines, China, Vietnam, Korea, and India, to name a few. And these are people that most likely they came here legally on a plane with either a tourist visa, a student visa, a business visa, or a special circumstance, but never left before their exit date, therefore now becoming illegal immigrants. But you don't hear that on the media as well. If people have made a life here of 20 plus years, have kids born here, no criminal history whatsoever, they pay taxes, they own businesses, which because they do, some speak English, many speak English, depending on how many years they've been here. If they pass background checks, why not forgive them the fact that their only crime was coming to a country illegally in hopes of a better life, an opportunity to integrate completely into our society? Our economy would benefit greatly. This would create more spending money across the nation in all sectors, from homes to automobiles and so on. Travel would increase, allowing for airlines and destinations to have more revenue. So next time DACA or DAPA or an immigration reform is on the ballot or up for discussion, do your research so you can make an informed decision when voting, and contact your representative to push for something you think is fair. You can go into house.gov to find your local representative.